Hey folks, welcome back to Growth Lab Sessions. I'm your host, Joao, CEO of Stealth White Label Marketing, and my mission is to help marketing agency owners grow, scale, and build businesses that thrive. Over the years, we've helped more than 700 agencies generate 650,000 quality leads, invest 30 million in ads, and run campaigns across 70 niches worldwide. This podcast is all about uncovering the strategies, insights, and behind the scenes moves that help agencies succeed. And today we have a master of content as a guest joining us, Danny Seliger, founder of Brandsharks and an agency redefining content creation and video strategy. Danny, welcome to Growth Lab. Let's dive in.
My brother, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate your time, and I'm grateful to be here.
For sure. So, Danny, super great to have you here. We met each other at Agency Founders, and we really vibed, and I loved like what you're doing. I kept in seeing your social media posts. I saw that you're working with some really cool people. But let's start with your story. I saw some spoilers of that online, but tell us your journey before Brandsharks. How did it begin?
Yeah, bro, 100%. It's definitely been a fun one. I feel like just going out there, putting yourself out there, and failing forward are like the biggest possible drivers for success. So many people, they'd be like, dude, like I don't have my passion. I'm not as into what I do as you are. I'm like, bro, I tried tons of different things before landing on this, and just like, failing face first, failing over and over again, and then like you finally land on something that you like. So it's definitely been a fun journey. I didn't take the traditional young entrepreneur route. I actually went to college for 2 years. I had a Division I scholarship to play volleyball at Long Island University and played on the pro beach volleyball circuit in the AVP for 2 years, which was super fun. And then I was just like, bro, this isn't for me anymore. Like I started, growing a little bit, working with other agencies as a sales rep, growing my brand, growing online. And I was like, bro, if I could only just spend all of my time on this and doing nothing else and not focus on school or not focus on sports, like, man, we'd be able to do some cool stuff. And so dropped out in May of 2023 as a sophomore after 2 years with perfect grades, and started Brandsharks not too long afterwards. And now it's safe to say we're growing pretty smoothly and have been enjoying every bit of it. So that's the super Cliff Notes version, but it's definitely been a fun ride.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. And I feel like you've done so much in so little time, right? How old are you?
I'm 22.
22 and already crushing it. It's like, what were you doing when you were 16? Like what were the kinds of things you used to do? That's an actual question.
Yeah. I would. It was safe to say that I definitely found the right path with content creation, because I started making videos when I was 12. Now they weren't necessarily like social media tips and advice videos like you see on my page right now. It was more like, creating. I'm actually curious. In Brazil, are you familiar with Dude Perfect? Like the trick shot guys?
Yes.
Like, dude, they're so huge. We were like up next, Dude Perfect. So we were 12, me and the homies in the neighborhood, like making trick shot videos. We just like come home from school. I'd knock on my friends' doors and be like, hey, like, you want to make some trick shot videos outside? They're like, yeah, I'm down. So we would do that. We grew pretty well. We had a few thousand followers across like Instagram, YouTube. TikTok wasn't even out at the time. We had a wiffle ball league, and then I transitioned into making like TikTok skits and like meme videos, and like, I could grow accounts like really, really fast. So I was doing a bunch of that, and then put that on pause, went to college, and then I was like, dude, if there's one thing I know how to do, it's grow a social media account. So I started doing it for myself, doing it for clients, and it's been pretty fun. So to answer your question in a much shorter version than what I just did, I've been making videos forever, and I was doing that when I was 16 as well.
So you've been making videos forever, and forever means like 10 years, essentially, right?
My entire
you do a lot of
conscious life, as far as I can remember. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's super cool, because you started doing that a long time ago, found some success doing that, and so you're able to do so many things so fast, right? Like you went to school for only 2 years, you dropped out. You're like, I've maximized, I've topped this out, right? You speak super fast, right? And like part of your offer is to get 6 months worth of content in just 2 days of filming. So I feel like that's you completely. You know, I feel like you've been able to find your identity so quick, right? Tell me about your offer. Like, how did you land on that?
Dude, 100%. I want to touch a little bit on, you said like moving very, very quickly. And I think that if you want to live a constant mental war inside of your head, don't make decisions quickly. Like spend a long time thinking about lots of things before actually taking action. If you want to constantly have a corrupt brain inside of your head, spend lots of time thinking about things, because there's people that I'll ask them, like content, for example, like how long have you been thinking about growing a personal brand? They're like, oh, 2 years. 2 years you've been thinking about it. Imagine if you just failed forward for, that's what, 365 times 2, that's like 730 days or something like that. You could have tried 730 times. How good would you be at making content? How big would your brand would have gotten if instead of thinking about it, you just said, well, I'm probably not going to be very good at this when I start, but I'm just going to go. And maybe after like post number 100, you find out whether you actually like it and want to do it, or if you don't want to do it. So then you made the decision. But instead, you have this huge weight on your head of like thinking about it for 2 years. Oh, I'm thinking about doing this. So that's been one thing that I'm very happy about, is this, the ability to make quick decisions. Because there are friends of mine that were like debating dropping out of college at the same time that I did. Like they were like, oh, I have this mini business. I want to drop out. I want to pursue this. I'm not sure if college is for me. In that 2 years of taking time to make that decision, they now went another $100,000 into debt, staying in college, didn't grow their business. And I've traveled 12 countries, failed at a business, started this business, went to all these different events, launched my personal brand, launched a pot. Like I've done all this stuff in the last 2 years because like just went and tried. Like I'd rather make the decision with more information after trying it and seeing if it's something that I actually want to do. So if there's something like tactical that people can take away from this, like whatever you're thinking about, like just make the choice. Like the same thing with sales calls, run a sales call. It's like, dude, I don't need you to buy. Like I just need you to make a decision. Like, is this something you want to do or something you not want to do? Because the one thing I can't deal with, people who can't make decisions. I'm cool if we don't work together, but just make a choice. So, what was the actual question? The offer. Yes.
No, I love that. And, you know, just to add to that, man, I feel like my most successful friends are the ones that move the fastest, right? Like speed to execution is the key word, where you don't debate something for forever, right? Like opportunities passed, context change. So whatever is top of mind, you just got to execute. And, you know, whatever the turnout is going to be, at least you've done it, right? And so if it works out, if it doesn't work out, you can always like go back and change things too, right? Depending on like the situation, you can always go back and change. Reflecting a little bit on the success, my successful friends, the most successful are the ones that I'm having a conversation with and talking about something, they're already executing. And they already give me feedback by the time I finish talking. Oh, just tried, it works. Let's scale that up.
Yeah, bro. And dude, that's something I respect about you a bunch too, man. We were at Agency Founders. I mean, the first interaction that we had was the first night. So it wasn't even like, just to give some context to the viewers too of like how the two of us met. This was night one, or like night zero, you could call it. Like it was like the days hadn't even started of the events, and I just pulled up to the Westin where the event was getting hosted at in the lobby. We were about to go to like the first like pre-networking mixer or something. I just got there. You walked up to me. I was there for like 2 minutes before, and then this dude comes up to me with a mic, and he's like, "Yo, you care if I ask you a few questions for an interview?" I'm like, "Wow, like I respect this big time. Like you're gonna go to the event and fucking maximize it." So we're one of the same in the sense of making fast decisions and acting on stuff, man. I got a lot of.
Yeah, did I remember that it just, your reaction was like, this guy's catching me out of the blue. Yeah. But you were like, yeah, let's do it. You didn't even think about it. You didn't look around. You just looked at my eye, kept a eye like contact, and you're like, let's do it right now. I'm like, come over here. You're like, cool. Can I ask you anything? You're like, anything you want. I'll answer anything. I'm like, this guy is sick.
Same goes for this podcast too, man. I hold nothing back. I think that one of the most liberating things that a person can have is a life where they are the same around everybody. Like there's nothing to hide. Like I'll talk the same way to my mom as I would to a stranger, as I would to my team, as I would to my dog, as I do to myself in the mirror. Like it's all the same. And I think that's one of the most liberating feelings possible. So
Yeah.
whatever you're feeling like asking, man, I got an answer or an attempt at one. So.
All right. So tell me about your offer, right? You're like delivering 6 months of content in 2 days. How
Yeah.
did you come to that offer, and why did you think that offer would be the one that would be interesting enough to get people to buy in?
Yeah, I think that everything you do, whether it's an offer, whether it's your brand, whether it's a video, whether it's a sales call, or anything that you're doing, should have that sort of like hook factor in it. Like if I'm meeting someone, there's gonna be some sort of hook. If I'm putting a video out, there's gonna be some sort of hook. If I have an offer, I want people to be like, what? What did you just say? I mean, similar to like you're asking me about my offer on the podcast. I don't even come onto podcasts and talk about my offer and try to sling stuff. Like I just want to be like as big of a value driver and asset as I possibly can be on each podcast that I go on. But like I'll touch on the offer from a sense of like having the offer that has a hook on it. It's just like wait, it makes people go, whoa, like what do you mean? So if I say I can get 6 months worth of content in 2 days of hanging out, that's something I know I can fill on. Of course, it's not going to be that easy. But it was driven from the fact of like I want to do something completely different than what other people are doing in the market. I'm in social media content space and the digital marketing space, which as we know is super saturated. But I honestly think that saturated markets are good to be a part of because when something's saturated, there's a lot of like bogus players in there. Like I clean up a lot of business from people who have worked with other agencies in the past and they're like burned before. And I'm like, okay, I mean, do we give off the same vibes? I hope not. If yes, I mean, we can work through that. But then those are some of the most loyal long-term customers that give the best businesses, like the ones who've been burned before. So I wanted to have an offer that stands out in an industry that's like pretty saturated and something that had a hook on it too. And something that I'm really passionate about because it took me to a lot of different places, allowed me to meet a lot of different people. I mean, bro, when I first had the offer, I flew to Colombia in January of 2024 because I had a client out there that wanted to get his content for 6 months in a couple of days. I had a 3-day trip to Colombia planned. I'd never been out of the United States before. It was supposed to be a 3-day trip. I fly in, go to Colombia. Me and the client clicked really well. He's like, bro, I have 2 extra bedrooms inside of my penthouse here. Like, if you want to stay for longer, I was like, I'm down. I love Colombia. I'm living like a king here. Like the dollar to Colombian peso ratio was crazy. And we went to networking events, and that's like what gave me the bug of like international networking. Like I was like, oh my god, like this dude's from UK, this dude's from Australia, this dude's actually from Colombia. What? Like I downloaded WhatsApp onto my phone for the first time. It was like crazy. And this as a 21-year-old kid that hadn't been out of the United States before. So that was like the offer allowed me to do that. It allowed me to go put myself out there in different places. I mean, the offers brought me into rooms with powerful politicians and stuff, like working with different people. And the 6 months worth of content, it's like it's not just your social media content, but it's like the marketing content as well. Because if I'm not there to coach through like whether it's a VSL, a landing page video, an intro for a YouTube video, or even social media content, it's not going to have the same amount of impact. So I wanted to have an offer where I was like, I had the most control over the outcome possible, where I could be like, bro, don't do this, no, say that again. We're filming this video. I've already like written out all the content. We're going to New York City over the next couple of months. I'm planning out a trip similar to this with a client of mine who's IPO'd 4 companies. And we're
Wow.
gonna dude, crazy, like unreal. And we're gonna be filming 6 months worth of content for him in just a couple of days. So we'll go out to like Wall Street, buy the bull in New York City. We'll set up shop in Central Park with like the 1% tent and all that stuff. So it really just it gets you out there, gives me loads of experience, which is like what I'm investing into the most right now. It's just experience. Because when people say like, oh, invest into yourself, can mean a lot of different things. For me, that just means like I just want to get as much XP as possible and like level up my character as quick as I can, and you have more data points to pull from so that you can get better information. So I know that's yet another long-winded answer to your question, but that's like the high ticket offer that we have. Of course, like any good agency, we have a nice value ladder. We have a free school community, paid school community, done for you services, and then our 6 months of content in 2 days offer, which is the most fun in my opinion.
Yeah, but you were like, I mean, you read a lot, right? Your background in your office, I've seen that it's a stack of books, like a lot of books, and they're all business books, personal development books. And so, all of this doesn't come out of your head. You're actually really ambitious into, we'll get into what you're ambitious about and your goals and stuff, but was your offer strategical at all? Because, one of the contexts to developing an offer is that you need to have a hook. It needs to be interesting. It needs to touch on pain points and desires, right? And so when it comes to content, nobody wants to record content all day, right? They want to like record and be done for a while, and then it's going to be posted like every single day without me having to do work, because you're usually dealing with busy people that don't have, So was that strategical at all in terms of like, hey, in 2 days, I'll get 6 months worth of content and bam?
Absolutely. I mean, like any good offer, like you're saying, I think offers is one of the hardest things to think through as like a fresh business owner. If you're like crafting an offer, to me, it was one of the hardest things at first. But the thought process that helped me land on this was like, who do I want to serve? Like who is not being served right now that I could come in and serve at a really, really high level? And to me, that was like millionaire, even sometimes billionaire business owners that like had nothing in terms of content so far, and that I could come out and just be like, hey bro, like 2 days, we'll get 6 months worth of stuff. You'll never have to think about this again. And I wanted to come in as like that young Gen Z guy that understood content, that could take them to the next level, that could coach them through something that they didn't know. And I thought it was like a really, really interesting like field to go into that was perfect, because this was a source of value. And this is something for everybody listening in that's trying to craft an offer. What's the source of value that you could bring that the high level people don't have? For me, like a lot of these guys don't have social media. It's the one thing I'm good at. So if I could come in and bring the one thing that I'm good at, that's the missing piece to like, these guys have built a huge puzzle, but it's missing just a couple pieces, and I can come in and be one of those pieces. It's beautiful, because it's the one thing I know how to do. And I've learned so much from these guys that I hang out with and like do content for. I sit there, I shut the hell up. And if it's not about scripting out the content or the VSL or how the lighting should go, like I'm not talking, I'm listening and I'm asking questions. So I would say for anyone listening in, especially the younger audience, what can you do to get experience and to get around the right people? And if that means not making as much money at first, like the dude I went to Colombia for to launch the offer, I did that for free, bro. Like I bought my flights. Wow. I brought a videographer out there with me that I paid for. I paid for my own food. I paid for my own room board. I paid for everything. I paid for the content to get edited. I paid for the social media manager to go onto his account. I paid for everything. But that opened up a massive door for me that changed my life forever, which was the networking events, the people that I met, the people that this guy introduced me to, the people that those people introduced me to, because I was willing not only to have the balls to go fly to Colombia as a little white dude who was 21 years old, who had never been out of the States before, but also to like, dude, I incurred like 20 grand worth of costs for that, like fresh out of college. People like weren't willing to do that. So you look at those opportunities like, okay, I'm invested into this right now, so I'm going to get as much out of this as humanly possible. So I think that a lot of doors don't open for people because they're not willing to like tug kind of hard or like search around for the key. Like sometimes the door will open, but you got to like pull it hard sometimes. Some people go and it's not an automatic sliding door that opens for them. Like, oh, the door doesn't open. They're not even willing to like turn the knob and like try and open the door. But sometimes you got to be like, I really want to get in this room, so I am going to rip the door off the hinges if it comes to it. I'm getting in this room. And the people who bring that mindset, the doors will open for you.
Yeah, dude, you squeeze the shit out of a lemon, right? You will get every little ounce of squeeze left, which is
and
awesome.
If you're determined to get the juice, you'll get it, man. It's like, who wants the juice more? Like if I'm thirsty and I really want the lemon juice, like I'm gonna squeeze much harder than the person who's like casually wants to make some lemonade. Like, oh, I kind of want lemon. If I really, really want the lemon juice, like squeeze it hard.
Yeah.
I think most people just don't want it bad enough.
Yeah, most people don't want it bad enough at all, man. Most people aren't doing like the minimal work requirement. One video that I really loved about you, and I agree 100%, is the one that you talk about, passive income, right? That shit doesn't exist, dude. You're not going to compete with somebody that's all in, creating a podcast studio, hiring 70 people, right? Have managers, middle managers, executives, a board. Like, how do you compete with an agency like that? You don't. So you got to be all in, and you got to fucking break the door open. So, going back to your offer, because I think you've done a great job at this, and, you're talking to the audience out there that maybe getting started, right? I think that one thing that needs to be highlighted is that your step one is thinking about a specific ideal customer profile, right? You're really honing down on this person that you want to work with. And then you thought about, okay, this guy doesn't have social media presence. This guy doesn't spend time with content. The one thing I am good at is content. So I'm going to create an offer that's what they're looking for, which is 6 months worth of content in 2 days. And that's my ideal customer profile. And then you do everything around that. But that's your step one, essentially, right?
Yeah. I mean I feel like that's really the only step you need, and then it's just iterating from there. I mean, personally, where I get caught up a lot is having an idea and like needing to perfect it sometimes before I launch the idea. Because like there have been ideas like I've failed tons of times, as any good entrepreneur has, or as anybody has. You fail a lot of times, and you want to like avoid failure. Like the human brain's wired for survival, so a lot of times I'm like, okay, how can I not fail at this thing that I'm going into? So I think that perfectionism is a really tough thing to get around. So for me, it's always been just like time to act. Like I have this good idea, let's act on it and go from there. Like there's a story of you ever heard of the story of the pottery class experiment? 2 pottery classes.
No.
A university study. It was 2 pottery classes. One pottery class, their assignment was to just make 1 pot by the end of the semester. All they had to do was just make the best pot that they possibly could. The other class, their assignment was how like you need to make as many pots as possible. So one was make 1 really quality, and one was make a bunch quantity. And the interesting thing was that halfway through the semester, the quantity class was making every single day pots that were better than the 1 pot that the quality class made.
Wow.
So they spent all the time studying the theory behind pot making. They watched all of the videos. They took all of the courses. They watched all the tutorials. They did a bunch of theory, and then they made 1 pot. And it was like average compared to what the people who just make pot, halfway through the semester, every pot that they make every single day is better than the one that these guys spent the whole semester working on. So that's been a frame that I constantly have to go back to, because like I find myself being the quality class sometimes. How can I make this perfect before I launch it? When in reality, like if you were thinking about an offer that you were going to launch for 2 months, you would be way further behind someone who thought of the offer, launched it, failed a couple times, iterated on it, and then now they're here. Whereas like you could have perfected it, got it here, and now you have so much ego in the game too. Like for me, every time that I try to perfect something, whether it be an offer, a social media video, a script or something, like my ego gets way too attached to it. So I'll bail out sooner. Like if I try like a new outreach script, for example, when I'm going to reach out to like warm or cold audience, and I spend days of actual time writing it, I'm more likely to bail out sooner when it's not working, because I invested so much of my time, and now if it doesn't work, it's like an ego hit to me, and like you don't want that. So like how do you, like if you spend less time on it, you're less attached to it, I'm willing to put in the test reps for it. So I would say that's really the biggest thing. If the whole point is to come back to like how to create an offer, I would say literally who's the ideal person you want to serve is the first question you want to ask. And then what am I good at, or what do I want to get good at? Because I can adjust this depending on the type of audience that's listening. But my main audience on my podcast is like Gen Z entrepreneurs who are brand new and sometimes don't quite like have any idea of what it is that they want to do. For that type of person, I would say, what do you like doing and what interests you, and what can you do really, really, really good and put so much effort and so much work into so that you become top 1% in this one niche thing? And you get a really good Venn diagram when it's like, what do rich people need? What do I like to do that I want to get good at? And then if you can find the piece in the middle of that, you have a good offer. But it depends on the type of audience for in here too. If like there's experienced people, I could go into different topics. But my audience is like, find your passion and see if you can fill a rich person's gap with it.
Yeah. No, but I think even, sometimes like this advice can apply to everyone, because not everyone's a specialist in everything, right? And so our agency owners are in the 10K to 60K range. That's kind of the audience that we have. But, as far as creating content, a lot of people don't create content. And I think one thing that you touch on that I agree 100% is first, you need volume, and then you can do quality. But you need volume no matter what. Like optimize for volume first. Like so another video that you said, most people don't get past number 20 podcast. And so that's what it is. People just give up and before they get good at it. And so I think, even for someone that's more advanced but hasn't started creating content online, Go for volume. And then the other thing I want to touch
Make
on
the
is that,
pots. Make lots of
yeah,
pots.
make lots of pots, but the pots that you're making got to be like made out of cheap clay, right? Don't try to make pot with the most expensive clay to start with, because that's how you can shoot yourself in the foot. And I feel like, agency ads, running ads for your agency, generating book calls, like putting your money to run your own ads. That's something that agency owners just are so scared of doing, because they're not completely confident of their results, right? And they don't want to spend their money. Guys, start with $300 a month. Start with $500 a month, right? By month 2, 3, 4, you're going to be optimized enough and generating high quality book calls. But so what you risk, just risk a bit smaller, but risk it over and over again until you get good. So, let's move on from the offer topic. I want to get into like your strategy, because you do a lot of pre-production, right? And planning before you meet with somebody for 2 days, for example. So how does the two compare to the pre-production and planning and the, like production and post-production? How do you break that up?
It really depends on the type of person you're working with, right? So if there's someone who has a lot of ideas of what they want to make for content, it'll be very easy for me to plan for it. If you can be like, hey, I want to film these 50 videos, I can turn them into content that's going to go viral. Like I can take your ideas and make them into high entertainment value content that actually performs. That's what we do best at. But there's other clients where like we're starting from scratch. So everything really matters a ton. We're like, I'm coming up with pretty much all the ideas, and it's going to take a lot of coaching during actual production, and then the post production. I think that like the post production is obviously important, but pre production and actual production are so important. It's what a lot of people miss. So like I think that if we have agency owners that are listening to this that make content, the biggest, most expensive lesson of 2024 that I can give to you when it comes to content is spend more time planning and spend more time during, and spend less post production, because like editors and stuff are a dime a dozen. Like yeah, you want to have a good editor. A good editor can like really change the game for you, but they can't make a bad video go viral. Like so many people I meet for entrepreneurs, they want to be like, oh, how can I just clip up my podcast into 10 clips, and then I have 10 videos from every podcast that I make, and then now I have 10 videos per day, and then I'm consistent with my content. Reality is, bro, like nobody gives a shit about those videos. Like you need to put yourself in the shoes of the viewer that's watching the content. Like I came onto Instagram to kick my feet up and to be entertained. I want to laugh. I want to maybe learn something new, but odds are I'm not here to get educated. So how can I make a piece of content that actually meets the viewer where they're at? Because so many people is like, oh, I'm a business owner. I'm making business content. Like, dude, go to LinkedIn for that, bro. Like meet the viewer where they're at. Because someone comes on here to get entertained, and that was a lesson that took me so long to learn. Even in doing, obviously, I posted tens of thousands of times before actually learning this, and then learned it this year. And it's like it's been so much easier. Like it's more time looking at the computer and iterating on your ideas, and then executing during production, and then the post production is just like a cakewalk. But it's actually entertaining for people. I used to think like, how can I give as much information as possible and blow the audience away with the amount of information that I'm giving? Maybe on a podcast, that's a good thing to do. But on an Instagram reel, it's like, what's the nugget of information that I want to give that honestly is probably a pretty simple concept? How can I make it entertaining and storytell and then lead to this one nugget? That's the difference. Whereas like if you're on YouTube, yeah, dude, walk them through your 7 steps to growing a successful agency, or walk them through your 3-step roadmap to building a sick offer over the course of a 30-minute video. But on Instagram, on TikTok, give me the people where they're at. I just posted a video testing this theory recently. And I posted a video on trial reels. It was me with this exact background, like a nice podcast studio background, professional camera, professional mic, and I talked about how Target, which is a big superstore here in America, how they finesse their viewers and how they finesse their customers into buying things based off like the products being at certain eye level, and like having the products that you come to buy in the store all the way to the back. I recorded 2 videos, exact same script. This is how Target finesses you into things that you don't want to buy when you cover. This is why you always buy more than you need at Target. I posted one on the trial reels, which trial reels is something that I can touch on in a second, which is a huge opportunity. Yeah, look at this fireworks on the screen for this. Right on this, and this is represents exactly what we talked about. I posted the exact same script. One was in public in a suit. The other one was a talking head video of me. One of them got 700 views, and the other one got 13,000 views.
Wow.
But everyone wants to say, "Oh, I'm just going to talk and give my information." But when I was in Target and I was in public and I was in a suit, everyone like, "You have to watch." Like, "Oh, is someone going to like kick him out of the store? Like, what must be like when like other people are walking around? This dude's out in public. He's actually doing this." Like, there's people are more committed to watch the video versus like if they scroll and they instantly see me in this background and go, "Guys, I'm going to tell you why you buy more than what you need to buy at Target." Like, "Oh, it's just another talking head guy. Gone. You lost me." Whereas like if I put a YouTube video out there and I was like 10 ways that Target finesses you into spending more money, and it was like a cool thumbnail, and then I could just get into my information because that's what you clicked on. The viewer chose to watch that YouTube video. The viewer doesn't choose to watch you on Instagram or on TikTok or on YouTube Shorts. You have to earn that viewer's respect. You have to earn that view. So for me, it was always been like, how can I just actually make this entertaining? I did a whole presentation on this in my school community on the free Q&A that we do every Monday. It was I had a big eye for information, and geez, what are these graphics, man? We got the hearts coming up too. I guess it's a good topic to touch on. We had a big eye for information and a small like video clip, like set clip like this, and it symbolized lots of information, low entertainment, low views. Little nugget of information, lots of entertainment, high views, and someone's going to remember that. So like my whole point was this that Target finesses you and they know what you're doing. They know what they're doing to get you to buy more stuff. That was my only point. And it took me like 60 seconds to get there. But I was walking around the store. I had like a Mario Kart graphic on there. It was like an entertaining video to watch in my opinion. And now we got 13,000 views as opposed to 700 views that the talking head one got. So
Yeah.
to loop back into what we were talking about at first, a lot of it is the preparation. Because I had to sit down and write that script in Target. Not I didn't write it in Target, but I had to write the script with the setting being in Target for over an hour beforehand. It's like, I'm going to write this out in a good way. And then, like, even after filming a lot of public videos, like, you still have to silence the heart that beats really, really fast when you, like, go film in public. Like that's still a real thing, and it's hard for people. It's hard for me. I've done it hundreds of times, and it's still like, doom, 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 up. You walk up to Target in a suit on, like, everyone's looking at you. And we did it on, I think we did it, it was either Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And, like, everyone was in the fucking store, man. Like, everyone was looking at you. And, like, that's something. And, guys, this goes back to another point of, like, doing the hard things and doing things that people aren't willing to do will give you results that other people don't get. Like, it is hard going in public and filming. It is nerve-wracking. It's hard, even harder to deliver the same intensity and the same tonality and the same script as you were supposed to than if you were in a controlled podcast setting. And since it's harder, people know that, and they give you, like, you earn their views and you watch them. So that's my take on that. So the pre-productions.
Preach, Danny, preach.
Yeah.
But if you weren't a agency owner, what would you be?
I don't know, dude. I wanted to go pro, like really go pro beach volleyball. I played on the pro circuit for a couple of years. We didn't rank very high or anything. I was 19 and 20 when I played. But I would have gone further with that. I would have tried really hard and try and become an Olympian for it. But there's just no money in it. It was like, I spend all of my time practicing volleyball. I mean, dude, Brazilians are very good at volleyball as well. There's a couple Brazilians I played in college with. And
dude, you got to come down to Brazil and play in the beach at Rio. Like in Rio, that would be sweet. You'd love that.
I'm down. I'll find a client out there and then fly in, and then we'll hit the beach.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can be your client. Maybe you can fly out. We can do some work together. And by the way, I saw that Target video. It popped up in my newsfeed, and I watched the whole thing. It's because you raise the stakes, right? That's something that Adley talked in her talk at Agency Founders. You got to raise the stakes, Ben, because otherwise people are not going to be entertained. Talking head videos are boring as shit. Nobody's like watching that unless it's somebody I really respect, right? So like Alex Hormozy, for example, I watch his talking head videos. Gary Vee, like I watch his podcast cuts, School of Hard Knocks, like they get some really good guests. I watch their podcast cuts. I think like for somebody to pay attention to you, you have to have earned their attention, because there's so much noise. You're not going to listen to somebody you don't know.
Dude, you got to earn it one way or another. And when for now, when you're not Hormozy, when you're not Gary Vee, when you're not School of Hard Knocks, you got to earn it another way. And you earn it by raising the entertainment value of it. And shout out Adley. Like you mentioned Adley, the talk at the agency founders. Dude, huge shout out to her. I've been a part of her program for a long time, and she's taught me so much. And like
Oh, nice.
yeah,
So did
she's a huge mentor that I learned a lot from. So I got to give credit where
that's
credit's
awesome. Who are your other mentors?
So dude, I pull a lot from YouTube and just from social media and stuff because I think that, and not to get too deep on the podcast, but I think that a lot of us in real life don't have super great examples of people that we want to be like. We have examples of people that we don't want to be like. So we run in the other direction. So it's like, okay, I know that this exists. And I think that's why a lot of us became entrepreneurs. You see people that we know that like have the 9 to 5 life. You're like, maybe like I don't want to work until I'm 60 and then get a 2% raise every single year and then still not be able to do anything that I want and then still not be able to retire the way I want to. Maybe I don't want that. So let me go this way. I don't know what's over here, but like I'm going to go the opposite way. And there's not really ever a North Star of like, I want to do this or I want to be like this person I know inside of life. So we pull a lot of information from the internet, we pull a lot of information, inspiration from YouTube, maybe now even Chat GPT, pull inspiration from and information. But I pull pretty much all of my inspiration. Most of my mentors are online as part of communities and courses and stuff. But I will say, if there's one person who's like completely changed my life when it comes to information that they put out on the internet, it's Hormozy. Like that dude. I mean, bro, everything that I've learned. Like I would not be anywhere near where I'm at right now if it wasn't for that guy, the content that he puts out, the books that he put out, the courses he puts out. Like props, man. Like.
Yeah, no, Alex Hermosi is also like somebody that I read everything about. I watched every video about. Like today, I was watching one of his videos, and yeah, like he was talking about how he would put his business before his marriage, and that's what he told Layla.
Yeah.
Like, how savage is that? And that's what the first 3 years of the marriage were like. But then he was like, okay, yeah, if we're good, the businesses are good. So it kind of shifted things. But he's such a savage dude. I think he's the most consistent, one of the most consistent entrepreneurs that are public, right? And create content and value. But let's get a bit tactical because you're really good at creating content, right? And you talked about your target video that did, 13 times more views than the talking head video. Like, just walk the audience a little bit through the process of, hey, maybe breaking up your setting, your content, your delivery, raising the stakes. Like, what are the main elements that you try to, put down on paper? How do you orchestrate everything together? And then we'll go on to the shooting part.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that the most tactical thing that anybody can do when it comes to organic content is listening to this podcast is to get a list of the people who are competing with you in your niche. Like, who are the people who are crushing it inside of your niche? Now, caveat of that being, it's better to have somebody who has 10,000 followers that's in your exact sub niche than a million followers who's like general business and sometimes talks about the thing that you exactly do. So we want to find like 10 people or so that are in your direct niche that are crushing it. Then you go down, you look, you scroll all the way down to the bottom of their page. You go scroll, all the way to when they didn't have any kind of following. And then you'll see a couple of things that I call the inflection points of their page, like the first couple videos that took off for them. So if they're averaging like 500 views, 500 views, 500 views, 500 views, 500 views, 10,000 views. Ooh, like what was that video? And then you take a look at that video and you analyze it. And you can even feed it to an AI. I'm not super big on AI when it comes to content creation because I have a lot of experience of making ideas, so I don't need to rely on it too much. But you can even feed it to an AI or just look at it, analyze it, like why did this one do good specifically? Like, was it in public? Was it a different setting? Was it something crazy that they said in the first 2 seconds that really grabbed people in? Was it just an insanely valuable piece of information? Was it funny? Was it entertaining? Like, why this one? And don't stop until you have some sort of an answer to that. Like, why did this video do good? Okay? Make note of that, copy the link, put it in a spreadsheet, store it wherever you need to go. Then you go 1,000 views, 1,000 views, 1,000 views, 1,000 views, 1,000 views, 1,000 views, 50,000 views. Okay. Whoa, why did that one do good? Okay, that one did good because this. And you do that for everybody in the space. Now you have a huge spreadsheet of all these different videos. Not only do you have a spreadsheet of all the different videos that did well in the space, but you also now have experience in content research that exceeds anyone else's experience in content research in your space. Because so many people that I talk to some of the highest level entrepreneurs that a lot of people in who are listening to this like watch on a daily basis, and even them not a lot of them do content research. Like they're not scrolling with an intention and researching the content. They have teams of people that do it, but a lot of people just aren't experienced in this niche or in this field of like researching content. And as a result, no one stays consistent and very few people make it to the top. In my opinion, and you guys will see my account do this because I started my fresh account, my personal account back in October. So I haven't been at it for that long, started from scratch again to grow an account as a white male that talks about marketing from scratch. Like talk about an uphill battle of an account to build. Like no who gives a shit, right? Like that to me, I did that to prove a point that anybody can really grow. And for example, at Agency Founders, I was around 700 followers. We're getting close to 1,000, and that was only a couple weeks ago. So we're starting to pick up some speed. We're starting to grow. So for anybody that's watching this right now and you want to see what's working in live time, like watch my page and take notes off the stuff that I'm doing. So I'm growing. You see 10,000 followers over the next couple months. My goal is 100,000 by the end of the year. Started from scratch. But most people just don't stay consistent, and they don't look at the content through the viewer's eyes. They look at the content through what can I come across as an expert on, when it's really like, okay, people are coming to this app and just scrolling. And they're scrolling. And they want to get entertained and they want to laugh. How can I do that while also delivering my message? That's what I think about. But in terms of the real tactics, like go find your competitors and find your successful competitors and see where they blew up and why they blew up.
And then how do you put it together? Like what's some, just high level, how do you put that content together? So you found some interesting videos, you found the inflection points, you took notes on how to raise stakes, on topics, right? How do you bring it all together?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a million different frameworks online about how to structure video. They're all pretty much the same for the reason that it's the correct framework and it's what works. The one that I put my spin on, and I call it the Triple H framework: hook, hold, happy. So it's like the hook is the most important fucking thing. Like everybody knows. I'm not going to harp on it too much. Like the first 2 seconds are very important. If you don't catch the attention in the first 2 seconds, they're scrolling. That's it. But the 201 of the hook is, where are you at? Like, what's the visual hook that people see? Because there's a large percentage of people watch their content without sound on. So like if I open up and I'm in the middle of a target, it's like, whoa, what's happening here? Like, this is interesting. So the 201 of hooks is like, where are you? What's the visual of it? But like everybody should be thinking about what's said in the first couple seconds. The next stage is hold. How can I hold the attention? Because if I have a longer watch time than my competitor, I'm going to get shown to more people. Instagram is like, okay, this is a good video. People watch this for 25 seconds as opposed to this other video in the same niche that got watched for 6 seconds. Let's push this one more because it's better. So how do we hold that suspense like Adley talks about? How do we keep them to the end? And like not give our gem until the end, but entertain them enough to actually have them watch until the end. And then the third H is for happy. Like, did they feel like they wasted their time watching the video with you, or are they happy that they spent the time that they watched it? And for me, like, there's plenty of videos that, like, they'll have a really good hook, they'll hold my attention for so long, and then they'll cut it off before they actually get to something. And I'm like, fuck these guys. Like, I don't like them. And then, like, if I ever see them again, I'm never watching any one of their videos. There was a good frame that I learned of, like, if you're making a valuable video, like a value-driven video as opposed to an entertainment-driven video, honestly think of it objectively. Would you pay $5 for that information inside the video? If the answer is no, like, it's not going to do that well. But if the answer is yes, like, yeah, I would have been happy that I paid $5 to learn the information inside of that video. Genuinely. Like, and this it leads into another frame that I like to use with all my clients. It's like, all right, forget that you know yourself. You got amnesia. You have no idea who you are. And you see your page online and you see one of your reels online. Do you follow yourself? Or do you say, who is this guy? Who is this? Do you actually follow yourself? And there's been people that I'll work with who, like, their page objectively is shit. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. Like, there's some of the most tightened entrepreneurs that I know had shit pages before they met me. Like, it's not, having a shit Instagram page is not a bad thing as long as you do nothing about it. As long as you don't do nothing about it. But there's been people that I've worked with who've, like, objectively had shit pages. And I've said, like, would you follow yourself? If you didn't know who you were, like if you randomly popped up on your feed and you saw your page, would you follow yourself? And well, you look at that, you're like, I think for 99% of people that are listening to this right now, the answer is no. And then the next level of that is if you didn't know who you were and you just popped up on your feed and you saw your page, is your content so good and is your brand so strong that you would defend yourself in the comments if people were shitting on you? Like if someone came through the comments and were like, oh, fuck this guy, would you be like, no, this is his, and would you defend yourself if you didn't know who you were? Like, are you a super fan? And I think that once you get to that point, success is inevitable. Because I don't go on Instagram. You don't go on Instagram and just randomly follow people. So earning that right to say I would have followed myself it's not to say it's bad if that's not the case, but it's something to work for. And when the answer is yes, you'll watch success start to flow in.
100%. So Danny, we're getting towards the end of the podcast. We have a part now that it's the rapid fire round. Right. And so just like, quick 10 to 30 seconds on it, right? You ready? Are you ready for this hook right here coming to you? So what's the most impactful software or tool that you use in your agency?
Frame.io.
Wow. What is it?
Oh, so I'm explaining the thing afterwards a little bit too.
No. Just what is it? Say that again.
Yeah, so it's a video software called Frame.io, and it helps me and my editors communicate, and like they can leave comments at specific seconds inside the video and like circle things like video editing software.
Okay. Frame.io. How many niches do you actively serve?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I'd imagine it's around 20.
What's a unique tactic you've used to acquire clients?
Getting into the sauce here. So what I'll do, and can I take more than 60 seconds on this? It'll be a pretty like sauce answer.
Give me a 30 to 50 seconds.
I'll give the quick version of it. Come up with a solution for all of the mini problems that you see that your ideal clients have, and in your outreach, just send that mini solution to them and say, "Hey, I checked out your stuff. I think that this would help you." And it's like tailored mini solution.
Custom.
Yeah. Well, like for example, if I see a lot of people struggle with their hooks, I'll make like a hook playbook and be like, hey, bro, I think this would help. And then you have that asset and you can send that to other people as well. So not completely custom, but like a custom asset that you have that you can send to each person that's specifically struggling with that thing.
So you come with the value right away. That's awesome. So if you could automate one part of your business, what would it be?
Being on camera.
Well, you can do that with AI pretty soon, right? Yeah. Okay, so speaking of, not speaking of AI, because I don't think it's overrated, but what marketing trend do you think is overrated?
I don't know, man. I'm a true marketer at heart, and I think that any tactic that's out there, there's someone out there that's crushing it with that tactic. So I don't think anything's overrated. I think you're just not trying hard enough.
What's one piece of advice you would give agency owners starting out?
Starting out, you got to try, man. You got to try and expect failure. Like failure is a requisite. Like it's not bad if you fail. Like you're going to accept that.
Awesome. Well, Danny, this has been an incredible conversation. Before we wrap up, where can people connect with you or Brandsharks?
Instagram's the best spot. I try to give sauce on there while sprinkling in as much entertainment as I can. I'm sure they'll be linked in the podcast below, but it's Danny.Seliger, DANNY.SELIGER on Instagram, and I post on there once or more every single day. I'd love to see messages from this too as well. Like if you enjoyed this, shoot me a message. Love to connect.
Thank you so much for all the sauce, Danny.
Dude, that's what I'm here for.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Growth Lab Session. Stay tuned for fresh new episodes being dropped, bringing you the strategies, tools, and insights to help your agency grow smarter, not harder. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and for behind-the-scenes content, follow me at Joao and Stealth White Label. Got questions or insights? Let's keep the conversation going on social. Sweet.